I'm Pete Stotts. My wife Carolyn and I operate a dairy farm in North Branch, New Jersey. We farm about 150 or 200 acres, and we milk 25 to 30 cows. My parents own the farm, and they have retired from farming. The farm has been in our family for a long time, a couple of hundred years maybe. This was part of a grant from the King of England. There's books around here with stories in it, and of course you don't know for certain. You piece everything back together. It was lost at a poker game and was deeded to my great-great-uncle from, I think it was from his brothers and sisters. The way the land prices and the taxes in this area are going, it looks like in another 10 years there's not going to be a single farm around. It's going to be solid houses from New York City all the way out to, well, pretty near to the Pennsylvania line. And sock the money in a bank some places. You got to live somewhere. And we've lived here so long we don't really want to sell any of it. I like the farm, and even with all its problems, there's a lot of good things about it. You're going all day long. And that's 7 days a week, especially when you've got milk cows. Those cows have to be milked twice a day. They don't care whether it's Sunday or a holiday or how cold it is. You got to be there. $16-hour days probably not uncommon. And some days more. You get certain days, if the weather's been bad and you're trying to beat the weather, you might go up to 20 hours. And through the winter when we've got it easy, we still put in a good 12-hour day. Well, let's say average for 365 days, let's say 12 hours, we'll be kind. That'd be 4,380 hours in a year. Now, last year, I think we netted $5,000. So that's not an awful lot more than $1 an hour.
Well, when you're figuring his $1 an hour, you're not figuring my time in on that. I spend from 12:30 every day till 6 at night in the store. I spend at least another hour to 2 hours washing up every day. Plus I help in the morning. I put machines together. I still, on that time, I take care of the heifers. And in that $1 an hour, you're just not figuring my time. It must knock his pay scale all the heck. Either that or I'm working for nothing.
This year, we should be able to double that. I could sure make more money than that a lot of other places, but there's fringe benefits you can't put a monetary value on. Enjoying what you're doing means an awful lot. What's the sense in making $12 or $16 an hour if you hate what you're doing?
Nobody gets to eat breakfast around here till 9 or 9:30 before I have a chance to finish the milking.
Well, if it's 6 lug, it should still fit anyhow, though. Well, order them for me. 2 of them. Okay, Sid. Thank you. So long.
That's bad news for much?
Yeah. This is to the 30th of June. We've grossed 18,000 so far, and we've netted 4,110. come December, it sometimes looks pretty good, but then when you do your income tax and you put another, or take off another $4,000 for depreciation, it really cuts it down.
Once a month, we send out all sheets with all our income and expenses on it to a computer service. And we receive back a computer printout that tells us how our business is doing for the year.
What happened to your
But still, there's an awful lot of bookkeeping to do. It keeps us plenty busy at night.
You're trying to get that coffee and eggs, aren't you? You can't have them.
This Carol never really knows how many she's going to cook for. We get a rainy day sometimes, we'll have 3 or 4 extra people around besides what we've already got.
We both grew up with his family and my family felt about the same. If anybody came in, they were to be fed.
Yeah.
We pasteurize and bottle all our own milk and sell it right here on the farm. Well, there was a lot of reasons we decided to go to the retail. Basically, we needed more income. We could have gone bigger. We could have put on, well, we have, at that time, a year ago, 30 cows. We could have gone to 60. That would have meant an addition to the barn. It meant trying to find more cropland to feed these additional 30 cows and more equipment. And we still would have been getting roughly 12 cents a quart for the milk if we were selling to a creamery. We put the processing plant in. It's almost all used equipment, and putting the building up, the equipment in the building, the installation of the equipment, and a new well, we've got about $30,000 in there. Probably, if we geared up to 60 cows and changed all our equipment and everything to fit the existing needs, we'd be up around $70,000. So it's less than half what it would cost us, and we're getting 30 cents a quart for our milk now, where we'd still be getting, even with 60 cows, we'd still be getting the same 18 cents a quart now from the creamery. In Pennsylvania, there's an awful lot of this retailing of milk going on, and they seem to be doing very well at it. So we just decided to take a chance and see what would happen. I don't know. Everything you do belongs to both of you. Even the feeling of accomplishment when you've done something is shared.
We're always together. To be able to go out together and work, and then when you're finished, it's just a nice feeling.
She knows just what problems I've had all day because they were her problems. She never stands back to watch. We got something wrong, she's right there, right alongside, helping. She doesn't like to drive tractors or any of that neat stuff. But we get in a pinch and we need an extra driver, well, she'll get on one and she'll drive it as good as any of us, I guess.
I wasn't brought up on a farm. I was raised in a small town. And now all of a sudden, here I am on a farm. But I don't think I'd ever want to go back to another way of life.
Do you have a bag for the apples?
Plus, there's a certain amount of satisfaction in it. You're making a quality product, selling it direct to the public.
No, they're good with salt.
And a lot of times, they're tellulate. They feel the milk's very good and better than what they can buy in the supermarkets. As far as their kids are concerned, some of these kids had never associated milk with cows. One lady, we were closed, I guess, and she went someplace else to buy milk. And her kids refused to drink the milk. And she said, why? And the kid said, well, it's not cow's milk. And she says, yes, it's cow's milk. Well, we don't know those cows. All our cows have names. And a lot of these kids that come in here know the cows by name. I've watched since I was small each farm as you come down this road. It's about 2 miles from the highway back into where we are. And each one in turn has sold out, and I've seen open farmland turn into streets and rows of houses. And it's very difficult to put into words how you feel about it. When we sat here in the house and looked out the windows, it was all pasture land. You'd see his cows grazing over there. Now you look out and you see houses and rooftops. Yeah, I know people have to live someplace, and these people are good customers, but it gives you mixed emotions. Just recently, my parents sold 16 acres. A sewer line came down the road, and we had to pay the assessment for it. It was around $7,000. With the taxes going up higher every year, they just didn't feel they could hold on to it any longer. The land was sold to builders, and they're building houses on it now. All these houses come in, it's like almost like being put into a box. There's blacktop and concrete and wood. Oh, I don't know. There's something relaxing or something about the open fields and the open ground. And you're out in the tractor in the middle of a field, and there's nobody else around you, and just that hum of that engine. And you look around and you see things. Maybe rabbits hopping around, or the deer will walk out. It's funny. They don't really fear a tractor. They can't smell the human odor, I guess, the scent. And they come right up to a tractor and watch you work and curious, see what you're doing. New Jersey agriculture's in bad shape. It's on the way out, I guess. If a young fella can't start up, I think the average age of the farmer is 56, or it's in the upper 50s. And these older fellows, they're not going to go on forever. And I suppose as each one sells out, there'll be more houses going up. New Jersey loses a farm every other day. That's 180 farms a year. And I know just around in this area, around where we are, there just aren't that many farms left. I don't think farming's got a very bright future in this area at all, and I think the people stand to lose a lot as the farms go. Just not in a financial way, just in the fact of what they'll be losing in the open space. I'm Martin Van Eyes, and I own a dairy farm in Somerset County, New Jersey. I own about 200 acres, and we run about 300 acres more. My milking herd is about 60 cows. We raise about 50 replacements a year. And my milk goes to commercial dairy. The latest price increase, I believe we're making in the vicinity of 16 cents a quart. The price is projected to go up another cent or two to the dairy farmer this winter, at which time possibly we'll catch up to the rising feed costs. My daughter Jean is 18. She's owned her own horse, has ridden in horse shows for numerous years. Jean this year will be starting in college where she can take her horse with her, where she can study horsemanship and art. Yeah, I have two sons. Dougie, who's 21 and a junior in college. He is majoring in ornamental horticulture. So it doesn't really look like Dougie will be home on a farm. I have my second son is 15, a sophomore in high school. Kenny always seems to take a real interest in the farm, and hopefully will be the potential farmer in the family. headed up to Belmead Co-op to get some supplies. Milk filters for strained milk, which gets strained before we put it in the cooler. I need some new shoes myself. The Co-op happens to have farm work shoes, and I get them there. And a few other things, hooks and chains. On the way up, I want to stop in an alfalfa field. We've got a field of hay I may cut today. Of course, whenever a farmer, they say the farmers are the worst drivers in the world because they're never looking at the road, they're always looking at the crops alongside of the roads. That may be right. More houses have just gone up in the last year. With more people that move out from the cities, demand more services which the rural people never demanded. One school split after another, way beyond the township's borrowing power even. It's essentially has to be made up in taxes, and majority of our township taxes go for school education. Of course, other services within the township increase too all the time. In New Jersey, we do have a farmland assessment law which values the actual land being farmed at farmland value, which does cut our taxes 50 or 75%. Essentially, I've always felt that farmland should not be taxed at all because it creates no tax burden on a taxpayer. It demands no services. I don't mind paying taxes on my houses and my buildings, which create demand for services, but I still feel that land should not be taxed, but of course it is a major tax base. In spite of farmland assessment, New Jersey farmland taxes are still the highest in the country. I think the fact that speculators have held this ground and the fact that there are so few farmers left and so much farmland held by speculators who can't possibly farm it themselves, that there has the rent for this ground has gone from possibly $20 an acre to down now they're willing to give it to you to farm just so they can get farmland assessment on it. This has no doubt helped the farmer. It's helped me. I rent more ground than I own myself, most of which I get free as long as I farm it, and then we'll sign a farmland assessment papers for the owner. I sold a lot off 2 years ago, the first lot, essentially for college money, for money to put my kids through college, and I sold the second lot this year because I have 2 kids going to college this year. When I first started farming, I had set a price relatively at $2,000 an acre, and I said if anybody wants to pay me $2,000 in the future, I'll sell the farm and I'll move to a cheaper territory, Pennsylvania or New York. But I could have gotten that price 5 years ago, and I haven't sold yet, and I think as you get older, you get more sentimental about farmstead, a farm like ours, which has been in the family for well over 100 years. I'm either the 4th or 5th generation on it. I'm kind of waiting to see what my sons will do. If they want to farm, why possibly we'll sell and go to better farming territory. If they don't want to sell, maybe I'll just sell up a little bit myself and stay here. I would like to continue farming myself. Farming's the only thing I know. It's the only thing I'm really interested in.
I may be interested in farming. Or maybe not. I don't know. See how things turn out. I kind of like to keep hold of the land. This is where I grew up. You know, father grew up, grandfather did, great-grandfather even. I wouldn't want to be around here with just all developments. Just too crowded. I'm used to having a farm in the city. That's not too cool. I'm June. The farmer's daughter, that's me. I think living on a farm made me more responsible than maybe other people in other situations. Because I did have the horses, I could never say, oh well, I don't feel like feeding them today. You just can't let things slide, especially when you have animals considered. And I just kind of carried that over with my schoolwork. I think also owning your own animals and showing them gives you a certain sense of pride that you carry over in all the work you do.
I think farming presents a variety of work, which I like. You're not doing the same thing every day. You're a tradesman in all sense of the words, as a carpenter, a plumber, or electrician, a mechanic, tractor driver, yes, doing doing some vet work for the cows. You're a manager, you're a formula maker as far as mixing feed goes. You have to be a business manager. You have to know where your money should be invested, which money is going to return the most. It's a continual challenge to manage the whole business. You have to tie it all together and make it all work.
You're always looking to see what you can do better the next year. Unfortunately, conditions are different every year, and you never know what they're going to be the next year. Unfortunately, you can see from this spot here that we had a heavy rain immediately after I planted the corn. When the ground dries out, it crusts so fast, so hard that the seeds cannot germinate. The tender seeds cannot germinate, the corn can't come up through, and therefore, of course, we've lost that part of the crop. Now, this is one poor spot. On around the field, you can see the spots that are better where there was no problem like that. Unfortunately, this is we need the rains. But when we get too heavy of rains like we've had the last couple of years, well, the germination is very poor. You'll notice how this ear is eaten. There's a bug right there. Don't ask me what kind of bugs either. These ears you can see are just about the way you'd want to eat sweet corn, which is means this corn is probably about 2 weeks off as far as being ready for silage. For cows, it wants to be so the kernels are just denting. But it'll be another 2 weeks before this corn is probably ready to chop for the cows.
Well, I always say we live and die by the weather, which isn't quite correct, but essentially the farm lives and dies by the weather. About 10 years ago, we started in a spell of dry years. The farmers got so used to dry land farming and just learned how to maybe to grow a little better crop without the rain when we really needed it. And then all of a sudden the weather pattern changed over the years, and now we're getting a series of wet years, which are entirely different farming. Every year there's always new insects coming up, new blights. In that area we have a lot of help from Rutgers, or from any of the colleges as far as I go, agricultural colleges. During grain harvest season, my neighbor and I work together. We share the cost of machinery. I own a combine and my neighbor owns a chopper. We work together because this way we get more help. Particularly during the filling silo time, we need lots of help, more the help we can get, more than we have individually. We're running 4 tractors, 4 wagons, a tractor and a chopper. And this total investment probably amounts to $30,000. You throw in the combine that I own, which today is worth anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000, and you can realize that by pulling our equipment, we save a tremendous amount of money. The silage we use to feed our cows during the winter, this along with some dry hay that we've made earlier this summer. I chop about 700 tons of silage a year, which means that each cow eats approximately 10 tons of silage a year.
This plus approximately 2 ton of hay over a year's time, and plus concentrate feed. It costs about $30,000 to feed this herd of cows a year. Family farm is far more efficient than the corporate farm, mainly because a farmer will work far harder for himself than he will for somebody else. 12 to 15-hour days are not uncommon. Very, very seldom will you get a man to do that working for a corporation. When you have a bad day, everything seems to go wrong. The cow kicks you in the first place in the morning. The next one slaps you in the face with a dirty old tail. The milking machine breaks down. The tractor won't start. And probably the manure spreader breaks down with a full load of manure on, which means you have to get in it with a fork and pitch it out to fix it. And then possibly you go out in the field to plow and you get 5 miles away from home and a bolt breaks and you don't happen to have a wrench with you, so you have to run 5 miles home to get the wrench. I've had days when I'd sell it for $150, I think. More violins on this damn place, I swear. It's slowly growing. I probably farm more ground every year. I have expanded the herd, not tremendously, not really to the point where I should to be most efficient, mainly because I can't see investing that kind of money because of a limited future in agriculture in this territory. Every year, there are less farmers, and less farmers decide to put that capital expenditure in back in their farm to make it efficient because they know they're on the way out sooner or later. But you go to bed and you sleep and you get up the next morning and there's another sunrise to meet. And as they say, a farmer every spring is the biggest optimist there is, but by the fall he's probably a pessimist. But at least he started out the spring by being an optimist.